Gregory Hallows, and you are listening to Preserve Halloween Podcast. So last time I recorded a podcast, I did one on Halloween music, what is and more so what isn't considered Halloween music, to me at least. And I knew at the time that I was recording it, I would eventually do a similar podcast on Halloween movies. And the past few weeks I've been there's this new app on online called Scener, where you can host a viewing online of, movies that are on Shudder, or on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, YouTube, not Yahoo, YouTube. And it's really cool because you can set up a chat room and people will can come in there, you can chat, you can start it with a video, you can do all this really cool stuff. So I tried it out a few times. First time I tried it with just a friend of mine and her husband, and then I did a screening with the members of the Halloween Preservation Society, strictly, just them. And then I tried one where it was open to everybody. And I think, it's going to take a little tweaking and maybe, a little bit more upfront, because all the times I did it, I didn't really give up big leeway on letting people know it was happening. But the first movie I showed was The House is October Built, which is one of my favorite movies to watch during October. And, it's a found footage film, and it's about this group that travels around trying to find the most extreme haunted house, which to me that is considered a Halloween movie because of the topic and the time frame and things like that. And then we also watched a movie the next time called The Dark and the Wicked, which has nothing to do with Halloween. It's just a horror movie. So therein lies the problem. A lot of times, I put out a list every year of, or at least the past 2 years, of movies that I would recommend to watch during Halloween and the season. Last time I did it, I actually had it starting in September because to me, when my birthday happens in August, that's when Halloween starts for me. So I put up my decorations the weekend or soon after my birthday, and then they stay up until, I think they stayed up till after New Year's this past time. So it made me start to wonder, whenever I do put out that list, I get a lot of people saying, well, what about this movie? What about this movie? And it's like, those aren't Halloween movies. I try to be as explicit as possible and say, hey, I know that there's other movies that people love to watch during Halloween, but they're more horror movies. And I know a lot of people who love Halloween don't like horror movies. And that's, I've always said that's perfectly fine because, Halloween is liked by a variety of different people. Some just love the nostalgia of it. Some love, the candy of it. Some love the costuming. Some love the history. Some people love everything. But it's one of those things where, horror and Halloween do go hand in hand, but they don't really have to tie together. So I always try to include movies that are like family friendly, or I try to do a good mix. So I think one year somebody complained because I put Halloween 3 on Halloween night instead of the original Halloween, which Halloween 3 is more of a Halloween movie than any of them. Halloween as far as based on the holiday, celebrating the holiday, than the original movie is, or any of the other ones really. So, I got a lot of slack for that, which, whatever. Halloween 3 is still one of my favorite movies. I just, bought, from Vintage Halloween Store on Instagram, I just bought a set of fake Nintendo cartridges that, if Halloween 3 was a video game, this is what it would look like. So I got a set of those, which I was super happy about. But, anyway, so I started thinking, if I'm the Halloween Preservation Society and I'm going to do movies with Scener, what should I show? Because there's tons of horror movies that I would love to watch with everybody, but I think for the society itself, it should be something that's at least tied to Halloween or related to Halloween. So, like, a movie like Night of the Demons is a Halloween movie to me because of the setting and, the imagery in it and things like that. And then, of course, Trick or Treat and, but then you get to a movie like Meet Me in St. Louis where people like, some people are like, why is that considered a Halloween movie? It's like, well, have you seen it? It's got some of the best and earliest uh, imagery of Halloween on screen, and it's like the prankster style of Halloween, not just wandering around trick-or-treating. It's like they're causing mayhem, and those kids are, doing tricks all day. So it's a film like that that's, why is that a Halloween movie? Well, that's why. And I love to have these conversations, so it's cool to me when people do question, why is something a Halloween movie? So just like the music podcast I did, so what really makes criteria for a Halloween movie? Well, for me, it has to be set, on or around the time frame of Halloween itself, because that lends itself to showing Halloween imagery and decorations and just the atmosphere and things like that. So that is a big bonus, and probably the number one uh, priority to me is, does it show Halloween on screen? Um, so what else? I mean, is the movie about Halloween? And that's kind of one of those up in the air things. What does that actually mean? Because a movie about Halloween could mean a ton of things. It's, it's about the history, or it's about trick-or-treating, or it's about, making your costumes. So that is kind of open to interpretation, but if the movie's about Halloween, that's also good. Um, and then I guess the third criteria, which is the least easily, you know, sorted out, is the spirit of Halloween in the movie. So is there, you know, of course, if it's going to be on Halloween or about Halloween, that's 2 out of 3. But then I guess the spirit of Halloween is more of a up in the air, what does this even mean thing, and I don't even really know how to explain it. But there's some movies you watch that just feel like Halloween. Um, and generally, if it feels like Halloween, it meets the first 2 criteria. A movie like The Worst Witch, that just feels like a Halloween movie to me. And then, like I said, Meet Me in St. Louis doesn't really feel like a Halloween movie, but it has Halloween scenes in it. So I guess that's more an explanation of one of the earlier descriptions. Does it have a scenes or multiple scenes showing Halloween? So let's say a movie like The Guest, which is one of my favorite movies. I have a lot of movies that I'll say it's one of my favorites because there's so many. But The Guest has, you know, nothing to do plot-wise with Halloween and nothing to do in almost any way with Halloween, but it's set during Halloween and you see a lot of Halloween imagery. So to me, I count it. I have it on my list of movies to show because, give me any reason to watch that movie and I'll watch it. But then, you get down to like, what are the quintessential Halloween movies? So to me, it's Halloween 3, Trick or Treat, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, The Worst Witch, stuff like that, where it's obvious that it's about Halloween. The House is October built. I count it big time because of what the movie's about, what they're trying to do. They're trying to find the scariest haunted house, which to me that's a cool Halloween movie to me. It's like this group of people is just going out and trying to find the scariest haunted house that there is. And, bonus for it being shot and set near a lot of the places that I've visited, Texas and Louisiana, that helps me like it even more. But then, the sequel's just as good, and if not better, and I just love watching those 2 movies back to back. So then, on the list, I put out like Practical Magic, which has absolutely nothing to do with Halloween and isn't about Halloween. I don't even think it's set at all ever. Well, maybe the end. I can't remember. But uh, it's a movie about witches, so it's not really about Halloween or any of that stuff, but it's just, I don't know, it's another movie that I would make an excuse on just to watch it, but which I just did. So um, there's movies like that that aren't really, technically in the strictest sense Halloween movies, but you watch them during that, time frame. But most lists, last podcast, I complained that whenever, Good Housekeeping or Family Journal or Women's Health or whatever, all these magazines that never ever discuss Halloween, in October, their editor's like, all right, it's time. We got to come up with something for Halloween because it's October. Well, they either generally pick a music list or what movies to watch, and it's exclusively, maybe except for one choice, which is generally Halloween, the original. They're horror movies. Uh, they tell you to watch Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, which are not Halloween movies. They're horror movies, and that's fine. Like I'm not against it. I love horror movies too, but a movie like The Crow has more to do with Halloween because it's Devil's Night than a movie like, Nightmare on Elm Street or, Hellraiser. That's some of the movies that these magazines put on their list because they got to put something, and they don't really know. So I've researched like movies set on Halloween. I've researched, like, I try to find every scene of every movie that's ever been in existence that has some reference to Halloween, and that list will never end because movies come out constantly. Um, I'm trying to think. There's this really good Nickelodeon movie that I always include on my list, and it's got Victoria Justice, and she's got to take her brother, I think, trick-or-treating. It's a really good Halloween movie because the entire thing's pretty much set on Halloween, and it's good for the family. It's a really cool movie. I'm just drawing a blank as to what that movie's called. I'm actually sitting in my car waiting to pick up my daughter while I record this, so hopefully it works because I'm 13 minutes in and I have no idea if it's recording or not, so we'll see. But as always, I want to know what you guys think is a quintessential Halloween movie based on the criteria I'm saying. Like, it's easy to pick a horror movie. It's the same as, last week when it's like, what is a definitive Halloween music? And it's not as easy as it sounds because there's a lot of music and a lot of movies that on the surface seem like they're Halloween related, but they're really not. They're just horror movies, or they're, scary music, or it's not really Halloween. And, there's a lot of people that don't care to make that difference. They're just going to, like, you know what? It's a horror. I'm watching it, or I'm going to listen to it on Halloween. I don't care. But for someone like me, I'm trying to differentiate it on purpose. And that makes it even more difficult because I'm really strict on the rules I set for myself. So, you know, I'll probably look over my list again. I did a lot of time and hours researching the list I made last year, and I really love it. I probably won't change it because unless something new comes out, like there was a movie called Haunt that came out recently. I added it to the list, and it's one of the reasons why I went ahead and I went from just movies in October to September and October last time because there were so many movies I left off that, just deserve to be on the list. Like, Sleepy Hollow, not a Halloween movie in any way, except it just feels like one because it's, it's of course Sleepy Hollow and the whole Headless Horseman and all that. So I mean that, that to me counts, but it's not really, I guess, Halloween. I'm sure I'm going to get a ton of people screaming and yelling at me, telling me I don't know what I'm talking about because it's Sleepy Hollow. Of course it counts. But, you know, but then you also bring up the fact that, most Tim Burton movies, they could count as a Halloween movie just because of the visuals just make it feel like, Halloween. And of course, Nightmare Before Christmas and all things like that, those are easy. Like that's easy Halloween, movie. But then when you get to something like Satan's Little Helper, which a lot of people don't know what that is, but that's one of the best Halloween movies I've ever seen, and it's super hard to find, or it was out of print for a while. But it's a really, I don't know if it's B grade horror, but it's, low budget horror. It's really funny. It's really good horror movie about, what if the devil really came and wanted to go trick or treating with you. I mean, that's a very simplified explanation of what the movie is, but it's essentially that's what it is. And this kid just thinks he's the best and follows him around and helps him do all this stuff for him. So he is, becomes Satan's little helper. But stuff like that. I would love to hear suggestions from you guys. And there's tons of movies that I know I haven't seen or heard of, or there's lots of shorts and other things. Of course, I mean, you could fill your entire month with just watching Halloween movies, like the actual, based on John Carpenter's movie Halloween. That would suffice for most people, and that's cool. Like I know a lot of people that are obsessed with all the Halloween movies, and John Carpenter could do no wrong, and that's wonderful. But I want to know what else exists out there, because I love to find new things. And, I got a lot of good suggestions on music last podcast. Got a lot of great emails on, what are some music that I haven't heard of. And I found a lot. It was awesome. So I'm hoping that this also is the same thing, that you guys have a Halloween movie that I just have never heard of or forgot about, or and like I always say, the whole point of this to me is to learn as much as possible and share that knowledge that I find. So I've rambled on for almost 20 minutes now. So yeah, that's the podcast, and I can't wait to get the emails telling me how dare I not show Halloween on Halloween, or man, we're so excited that Halloween 3 is your choice for Halloween, because I love those opinions. But anyway, thank you for listening. Always preserve Halloween.
Happy, happy Halloween.